Well, hello everybody. So this is first live broadcast that I've done in quite a while. I did a few, I guess, back in the middle of the summer, early summer. Haven't done many since, or haven't done any since on my own. I did last night the Las Vegas Astronomical Society. We had a virtual star party, and that was really successful. And I had a friend contact me today that tuned in last night and was asking me what does it take for me to do that. So I thought tonight I would show everybody exactly what it takes for me to do a live stream like this. So I'm using a program called OBS, which is Open Broadcast Systems. And that allows me to switch between different sources. The camera that I'm talking to you on right now is one source. I have two desktop monitors, so each one of those desktops is a source. So anything I bring up on computer monitor 1, I can switch to it. Computer monitor 2, I can switch to it. So I'm sitting in the comfort of my office here inside. The telescope is set up out in the backyard, and I'm going to show you exactly what it takes to go from, well, I'm not going to show you setting up the telescope because the telescope has been set up since yesterday, but I will do, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a short video that shows, let me get this ready. Okay, so pause this. So this is a little short video that shows what it takes for me to bring the images from outside. So let's switch over here. Okay, so here's the latest iteration of my rig. It is a Explore Scientific ED127 refractor, 952 millimeter focal length, but I have the 0.7x reducer, which brings it down to about 672. Filter wheel with beta, LRGB, and hydrogen alpha, sulfur 2, and O3. I had to think about it for a second there. Filters. Original 1600 mm camera. This is the original version before they came out with the hub. Instead, it had a useless guide board on it. I've got a Pegasus Astro Power Box V2 here, a little nuke, and then this is a little TP-Link Wi-Fi router that creates a hotspot, which when I'm in the field allows me to be able to connect to everything. You'll also notice there's a transformer here. I have one power cord that drops down to my battery pack, which is a Goal Zero Yeti 400 with an additional 35 amp hour battery tied into it. So I have 70 amp hours here. I can go about 2 full nights, maybe 3 full nights before I get down to 50% power here. So anyway, 12 volts going into the Pegasus power block here, and the nuke requires 19 volts. So this is a little step up inverter that will take 12 volts in from the Pegasus Astro and then output 19 volts to the nuke, and it works great. A little Stellar View 210 millimeter focal length guide scope with an old school Starshoot auto guider guide scope there. Everything goes into USB into the Pegasus Astro unit here. And I think that's pretty much it. CGX mount and a Meade giant filled tripod that a good buddy of mine modified with an aluminum adapter plate here that allows me to mount the CGX onto this tripod, because the tripod that comes with the CGX, no good. Anyway, so that's the rig. Now when I'm in the field, the only cable that I have dropping off is this. But for me to be able to do live stream, I can't connect wirelessly to the hotspot inside my house and also stream at the same time. So I'm hooked up wired with this Cat5 cable that runs into the house through the window here. And you can see my bees are cleaning up from a honey extraction that I did recently. So they're cleaning up the last little bits of honey here, and then I can get in there and scrub out that dry wax. But anyway, so that goes into a hole in the window shade there. And that's my rig. I have very limited field of view. As you can see, this is looking south. So Orion comes up over my roof here and just cuts across here, and then it's usually, I believe Orion Nebula goes behind this tree here. That's how low it is. It might be above the tree, I'm not exactly sure. Looking in towards the west where the sun's going down, or the southwest I should say. And then of course my house blocks my entire view to the east. Coming around behind the scope here looking north. I do have a clear shot of Polaris. Polaris sets about right here. And that's, you know, again, Vegas is right here, so, you know, lots of light pollution from Vegas, so I really only have overhead, but all in all, not too bad. I'm not sure what we're going to be looking at tonight at the time that I'm making this video. Whatever turns my fancy on after sunset, I suppose. Oh, and then I do leave it set up when I'm at home. And I have a little homemade observatory cover shield that I made here out of, this is garage door insulation material. And it's waterproof, not that I have to worry about rain here, but it works. And that's the rig. So let's get to the dark skies here and see what we can find tonight. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Let me stop the video from looping there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over and show you my desktop. So the way that I'm able to connect to the computer that you saw outside is I have it hardwired into my desktop here. And I use a program called TeamViewer that allows you to access another computer remotely. And what I do is using the hardwired internet or the hardwired Cat5 cable is the way I talk back and forth between my desktop here and the computer that's mounted on the telescope. And then I use the wireless card in my desktop unit here to actually get to the internet and to be able to broadcast things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my desktop. This is my desktop here on this computer here, and what I will do is I will launch TeamViewer, and now I'm connected to the computer that's outside that's mounted on the telescope. And I don't have anything open yet, so what I have to start up first is the control box for the Pegasus Astro. I say I don't have anything started up. The computer outside on the telescope is fired up, so I don't have any software started up on it though. So let's see, Pegasus Astro is loaded and going, so I can minimize that. The next program I have to open up is a program called CPWI. This is a Celestron program that is the software that controls the mount itself. So I will connect to it. It asks me if I want to change my location, and I don't, so I can go right here and tell it to go to the home position. And you can see here the green circle with the crosshairs is the supposed position of the mount right now. And it looks like it's doing a weird thing that it's done before, where it's just drifting off instead of actually going to the home position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to exit, and I'm going to reconnect to the mount, and I am going to try this one more time, and we'll see what it does here. Well, I can tell right now it's going a little bit crazy, so I need to exit out of this, and I'm going to switch over to my I have a little baby cam web camera that's outside that you're looking at right here. And I can tell right now this should be pointing almost straight up right here, because the camera is facing like due south. This camera is facing due south. So what I'm going to have to do is minimize that for a second, figure out what's going on with my mount, tell it to go to home, and I can watch it, and I can tell it's going crazy here, so that's not good. Well, we are live, and when we're live, problems happen. So here's what I'm going to do is I am going to connect one more time to the mount, tell it to get ready to go to the home position, switch here, and it's going crazy again, so I'm going to stop this real fast. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to run outside and switch or just turn the power off and turn the power back on the mount and reset it. So you'll see me appear on this shot here in a second. Hey, it's live, folks. Stuff happens. So there's a possibility it has something to do with the fact that I powered up the computer and the mount several hours ago. So maybe it kind of like lost its orientation here. But let's minimize that, and we're going to disconnect from the mount again. Reconnect. I don't want to change the time or my location anywhere. So now I'm going to tell it to go to the home position, which should be pointing up and sort of in the northerly position. And looking at the scope, now it's doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I had the mount turned on for about 3 hours after I went out and took the cover off of it. So that's probably has something to do with it. So now the mount thinks that it's pointing at Polaris. So I can go ahead and close this. I don't have to do a regular polar alignment routine because I did a polar alignment last night. So what we'll do here is exit out of this, and I'm going to start up a program called Stellarium. Stellarium will actually take over control of the mount from this point on, and the thing that's great about Stellarium is that I can minimize CPWI in the background, maximize this. Yeah, the thing that's great about this is it's a planetarium program, so it lets you see the sky, but it also lets you create a custom background, so you can see my house here as I pan around, and you can see where the CGX is supposedly pointing right now by that dot. And I can tell it to go to any object by just clicking on the object and telling it to go there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something for it to look at. Yeah, Mitch, I'm reading the comments here. Hello, Fred Bell. Mitch, yeah, technical difficulties, you know, it happens. So let's find something up here in this part of the sky to look at. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I am going to just go straight to the Andromeda galaxy. I got to zoom out a little bit and find it. I get turned around here. There's Triangulum, so Andromeda is not that far away. So there's Andromeda M41, and if I hit Control-1 on the keyboard, the mount will actually start going to it. So you can see it shows a little icon here, and it shows you like where the mount thinks that it's pointing right now. And it will end up coming over here to the Andromeda galaxy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a program called SharpCap, and this is the program that actually controls the camera. Yeah, Mitch, that was the satellite. The planetarium program doesn't show airplanes, but it does show satellites. So this is going to connect to the camera that's on board. It'll fire everything up here. I need to make sure that my filter is on luminance, and I'm shooting about a 2-second exposure here. And what I'll do is plate solve this image. And what plate solve does is it takes a picture and it compares it to a catalog and finds out, it basically matches up. It uses these stars almost like a fingerprint, and it will tell you exactly where the telescope is pointed, and you can see that it was 1.13 degrees off. So then it will actually move the telescope, and we'll see the Andromeda galaxy pop in right in the middle of the frame here, and there she blows. So now we're pointing at the Andromeda galaxy. So yet another program that I'm going to launch here. This is called PhD, and what this program does is controls the guide scope. If you remember the video that I showed a little while ago, there is a miniature telescope that's mounted on top. And what it does is it takes a wider field of view. You can see Andromeda. So it's not pointing exactly where the main telescope is. The main telescope is pointing about, well, this would be in the center of the main telescope. But it doesn't have to be that precise. So I can tell it to select a star, and it actually selects multiple stars in the latest version, and tell it to begin guiding. And so what it will do is it will start tracking this star that's in the crosshairs here, and you can see a magnified view of it right here. And even though the mount is polar aligned, it's not 100% accurate. There is, it's a mechanical device, and it's not super expensive mount. So it will make minor corrections that you can see on the graph down here. So declination is like north and south, and RA, which stands for right ascension, is like east and west. And so what it's doing is it's watching this star, and it's watching which way it moves. And as it moves off of the crosshairs, it sends a counter command to the mount to go back the other way. So if the scope moves south when it shouldn't, it tells the scope to move north to counteract the imperfections in the gears and such. So that allows us to do really long exposures, pretty much unattended, really long exposures. I'm going to look at our camera so you can see that this is the live view outside, and you can see kind of where it's pointing. We'll go back to SharpCap now. So this is a 2-second exposure, and even with a 2-second exposure, you're able to make out the Andromeda galaxy here. But what we're going to do is we're going to crank it up to 15 seconds. And really, 15 seconds is about the max that you can do from the suburbs with what's called a broadband filter. So the filter that's actually shooting this is a clear filter. So it's letting every bit of light in. They make a filter called a narrowband filter that lets in a very narrow bandpass of light and allows us to see certain types of gases that are not visible maybe with the naked eye. Okay, so you're looking at a 15-second exposure right now. So this is 15 seconds on Andromeda. And I don't know what this little reflection is down here in the corner. One thing I do need to do is set up a couple of filters here. Give me 1 second, folks. Can't think and talk at the same time. So we're doing 15-second flats, or 15-second exposures, and I'm using the luminance filter, so I need that flat. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start what's called a LiveStack in SharpCap. And by simply turning on LiveStack here, I need to first reset my histogram here, and that's the first image that came in. So this looked very similar to the pictures that we just saw, but if you look in the bottom left hand corner now, you can see there's one exposure for 15 seconds, and we're getting ready to have a second exposure pop in, and now there's 2 exposures, and you'll notice this histogram down here has changed a little bit. So what it's doing is it's combining exposures. So instead of a individual 15-second exposure, this is now the equivalent of a single 30-second exposure. And now we're looking at 45 seconds. And this is the way astrophotographers are able to build up in the city, in the suburbs, with all the light pollution. This is the way we're able to take images of extremely faint objects. Yeah, Mitch, it is a good night for viewing. There's no clouds. And there's no wind, which goes against all the predictions that I was looking at from several weather sources today. But weather's not always right. Mother Nature does what it wants to do. All right, so now we're up to 75 seconds. And the other thing that you'll notice too, as more and more of these exposures build, the background sky will start becoming blacker. And you'll also, if I zoom in to, like, let's say 75% here, you'll notice, maybe I'll go to one of the dark areas here. So you see stars, obviously. All of these stars that you can make out as individual stars are stars that are in our Milky Way. But what you see in between the black actually looks kind of like almost like a rough sandpaper-like finish. And what that is that's just the ambient noise of the sensor of the camera. So the advantage of stacking multiple images like we're doing here is that it compares the noise from picture to picture and subtracts it. So it allows us to make clean images and also, you know, very long exposures too. We're up to 2 minutes and 15 seconds already. It wasn't originally my intention to start out with Andromeda Galaxy here and even use this program. My original goal was to use a program that I've also been kind of testing called Nina, N-I-N-A, and it's an open source program that just does wonders. SharpCap, this program here that you're looking at, is a great program for live events like this. So I think I may end up sticking with SharpCap tonight and just fool around with a bunch of different objects here. So we're at 3 minutes on the exposure time now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Stellarium, which this is again the planetarium program that shows the sky. You can see the telescope is pointed right here and the moon is right here. So we're probably getting, besides the light pollution that we're getting from Las Vegas, which is coming from all over in this area here, we're also probably getting a little bit of light pollution spillage from the moon itself. Even though it is a fairly new crescent moon, there's still a lot of light pollution from the moon. You can see one of the Starlink, one of Elon Musk's satellites, zipping through here. That's one of them. Yeah, that's true. Jorge is mentioning in the chat the sky conditions. I'm right on the edge of Vegas in Henderson, and so there is a lot of light pollution from Vegas. There's a scale called the Bortle scale, and it goes from 1 to 9. And 1 being the best, absolute best, darkest skies. Just imagine, you know, being up on top of a mountain in Hawaii with no light pollution. So that's the perfect skies. And 9 is the absolute worst. And my backyard is about, I would say, somewhere between 8 and 9, probably closer to 8. Not great, but I guess it depends really on the direction. If I'm pointing off towards the southeast here, over towards Boulder City, my sky is much, much darker. If I was shooting something over in this direction, it would be definitely in the Bortle 9 section, because this is like right where Vegas sits. But let's go back to our image now. Let me get this kind of centered up so I don't get turned around on where I'm pointing. Okay, I want to make sure I can see where the mount is actually pointed in the app there. And now we're at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and if I do an auto stretch on the histogram here, you'll see the background got a little bit darker. You can really start to make out the dust lanes in the Andromeda Galaxy here. There's 2 very, very prominent dust lanes that are visible on that particular side of the galaxy. So the Andromeda Galaxy is very much like the Milky Way galaxy. And it's not edge on and it's not face on. So if it was face on, it would look like a true spiral galaxy. Let's see, Mitch is saying, just wait till they blanket the sky with those satellites. Yeah, it's going to be like a pinball machine. Yeah, that's a very good way of looking at it, because they are going to be all over the sky. I think Elon Musk wants to put either 11 or 13,000 of these satellites up, and there's only a couple hundred up that's right now. And Amazon wants to do the same thing. I think there's not quite as many. They want to do like 6,000 satellites, which is really crazy considering there's only about 8 or 10,000 satellites, I believe, in orbit right now. So it's going to be a lot of traffic. And funny you mention satellites, because one of the objects that I'm going to go to later on is the Orion Nebula in the constellation Orion, of course. And there are, because of Orion's location, it's along the ecliptic, which is like sort of like the imaginary equator in the sky. There are tons of geostationary satellites, which a geostationary satellite doesn't move, but the stars, rise in the east and set in the west, so they do move. The telescope is tracking the stars. So you see these geostationary satellites show up as little tiny dashes across a 15 or a 20-second exposure. Well, you can, Jorge says, talking about SharpCap, you can use Sigma clipping or you can use the default. So if you look at the program here, see, I actually have it set to default. So if I change it to Sigma clipping, you are correct. It will eliminate the satellite trails. But right now it's on default, which I don't know what that stacking version is called instead of Sigma clipping. But when we get to Orion, where we do have a lot of satellite traffic, I will show you the difference in the stacking procedure there and show you how to eliminate the satellites. The more sophisticated image processing softwares can very easily eliminate a satellite that's going through the picture. So you can see we're at about 7.5 minutes, coming up on 7.5 minutes now of exposure time. And I'm going to probably go about 15 minutes on Andromeda here before I decide to switch to another target. What I do want to do is zoom back into that 75% and notice, wow, that's kind of strange. I'm getting a really weird pattern in my background noise now. It's a very distinct pattern, not the randomness like I normally get. I don't know what's causing that. We'll go back to show the whole image. It doesn't show up too much on the wide shot that shows the entire frame, but aloha, Jorge. Does that mean you're leaving me? Okay. So let's see. We're at 8.5 minutes of exposure time now. And 8:45. So the Andromeda galaxy, this image here, you're actually, when you look at some of these deep sky objects, actually when you look at pretty much anything up in the sky, you're looking back into time. So what I mean by that is, even if you look at the moon, okay, so the moon is 250,000, roughly 250,000 miles away, somewhere around there, 235, 240, something like that. Well, light travels at 186,000 miles in a second. So when you look at the moon, you're actually looking at light that bounced off of the moon and reflected back towards the Earth about 1.25 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, and if you can look at the sun if you're careful and have the proper protection or whatever, the sun on average is about 8 minutes away from us. So you're looking at the light that left the sun 8 minutes ago. Oh, hi Yvette. Nice to see you in the chat. So that's just nearby objects, the sun and the moon. I think Mars is about 4.5, 5 minutes away from us as far as time goes. Might be a little longer. Obviously, it varies depending on its position in orbit compared to our position in our orbit. But when you look at an object like the Andromeda galaxy, the light from this galaxy left there 2 million years ago. So, and I think I did a little research about what was happening on Earth 2 million years ago. And the only thing that came up that like really stood out to me was the saber-toothed tigers were actually roaming the Earth. So it's after dinosaurs, but before before normal animals like we're used to came to be. If you've ever been to the La Brea tar pits in California, you can see some of the animals that were alive when this light first left this galaxy. So when you start thinking about looking up at anything in the sky, you're actually looking back in time. Oh, I don't know if I'm an encyclopedia of astronomy. And Mitch just asked, the center of the galaxy is comprised of what? I don't remember if our galaxy has a black hole in the center of it, but it's just more and more concentrated stars that are also a lot closer to each other. Like when you look at the Andromeda galaxy here, that center section, let me zoom in a little bit on it here, go into about 50%. The center section here looks much brighter. There's more stars in the center just because this thing is rotating sort of in a counterclockwise motion, very, very slowly to our eyes anyway. And it's comprised of just millions of stars. This dust that you see is actually not dust. You see these stars here, all of these stars that you can make out as individual stars are stars that are in our Milky Way galaxy. So they're relatively close to us. They're practically in our backyard. But all of this dust that you see here is hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of stars that are so far away that we can't resolve them as individual stars. I'm going to zoom into it 100%. Even, with my measly little telescope here, you can't resolve all of this. But this cloud is actually not a cloud. It's just hundreds of thousands or millions of stars that are just so close together and so far away that their light appears to be dust-like. So that's the best way to describe sort of what you're looking at here. And if you've ever been to the southern hemisphere, you may have heard of the large and small Magellanic clouds. So our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, actually has 2 satellite galaxies. They're much smaller than the Milky Way, and they're, I assume, gravitationally bound to the Milky Way galaxy. Let's see. Tom from Spring Valley. Oh, hey, Tom. How are you doing tonight? Good to have a little bit of an audience in here. So getting back to the Andromeda galaxy here, I was mentioning the large and small Magellanic clouds. Those are actually satellite galaxies that are orbiting the Milky Way. And if you look at Andromeda here, you can see a little small fuzzy patch here. I'll zoom in on it so you can see that this is not actually an individual star. It's a fuzzy patch. This is a galaxy, a little tiny satellite galaxy called M42 that is orbiting the Andromeda galaxy. And if we go over to the upper left-hand side here, we can see M110, M110. This is another satellite galaxy that is orbiting the Andromeda galaxy here. So let's see, we're at 13.5 minutes. I said I was going to stop after about 10 minutes, but I think I'll just go ahead and go and round this off to a nice even 15-minute exposure on the Andromeda galaxy here before I decide to find a new target to go to. So we're at 13:45. If anybody's got any questions, I am monitoring the chat room. Let's see. Oh, my buddy Jorge is giving me YouTube traffic. Okay. All right. Yeah, so we're at, well, I love the audience. I mean, I'm doing this mainly just because I'm bored and I'm looking for something to do tonight. But if there's if there's people watching, that's just a bonus. I sent a text message out to a few friends letting them know that I was going to be live tonight. I don't know, other than Mitch, the rest of the people that I messaged. Oh, Fred, sorry, Fred, don't want to leave you out. Mitch and Fred kind of chimed in on the chat, so they joined in. I was kind of hoping my buddy Glenn would join in if he's got his kids tonight. They might be kind of interested in looking at some of this stuff. All right, so we're coming up on our last exposure here, 14 minutes and 45 seconds, and about 3 seconds away from our 15-minute exposure. All right, so there's 15 minutes. So I'm going to pause the live stacking. I'm going to adjust my histogram here, and then just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I'm just going to save a PNG file of the actual image here. I'm not going to worry with the fits file. All right, so let's go back to, let me turn, we're gonna clear this, turn live stacking off for a moment, and we are going to go to PhD and turn guiding off. Remember, this is the program that sends commands to the mount to stay tracking those stars. Yeah, I'm really happy with this refractor, Jorge. I bought this refractor. I don't normally buy used gear, but I bought this from a friend of mine because he had just such an incredible deal on it. This is like I want to say like a $1,500 or a $1,600 telescope, brand new. And I got the telescope and the field flattener for $900. So I think it was and it was a friend of mine. I knew he took very good care of his equipment. He actually very rarely ever used this telescope. So it was in excellent condition. I've kind of beat it up a little bit. Okay, so Mitch is asking, how do colors get in this image? Very good question. So let's go back to my camera. Again, this is like an individual 15-second exposure here. My camera is a monochrome camera, black and white. So the only way that I can get a color image out of it is to take a picture through multiple filters, colored filters. So you can see on the right-hand side here my filter wheel. So I have the luminance filter in right now, which is actually just a clear piece of glass. So that's why we're getting a black and white image. But even if I switched over to the red filter, which I will do right now, I'll switch to red. And this picture that's coming in here in a second is going to be kind of messed up because it was in the middle of half luminance, half red. So even this red picture, or this red filtered picture, is going to be black and white. In order to make a color camera or a color image, you have to take multiple pictures through multiple filters. So if I take a picture through a red filter, if I take a picture through a green filter, and if I take a picture through a blue filter, and I combine those three pictures, red, green, blue, as Mitch, as you know, being an engineer and working in the video world, RGB combined makes a color image. And so that's what you have to do. And so I know the next question is going to be, yeah, Jorge's explaining it in the chat there too. So the next question is going to be, well, why am I bothering to shoot with a monochrome camera? I mean, it's 2021. Surely they make color cameras, and they do. They do make color cameras, but on a color camera, each one of those pixels is actually subdivided up into a red, a blue, and 2 green pixels. So they're called subpixels. So each pixel is actually broken up into 4 segments. And so if I'm taking a picture of something that doesn't have any red in it, that red pixel doesn't receive any light on a color camera. And so you get a lower resolution image and a little bit less quality image using a color camera. It's way simpler, trust me. For live events like our virtual star parties that we've been doing, a color camera is definitely the way to go. But since I do that so little, and the majority of the time I'm imaging for trying to get the best quality image, a monochrome camera, each one of those pixels is a single pixel that's picking up all of the light, no matter what filter it's going through. So you get a higher resolution image when you combine those pictures. So I'm going to go back before I forget. I'm going to go back to the luminance filter here, just because it allows me to do shorter exposures. We're going to switch over to our planetarium program and find another target. So this red line that's going right down the center here is the line is called the meridian, and that's what separates east and west. So west, since I'm looking south here, if I tilt down, you can see I'm looking south. Okay, so everything to the right of that line is considered in the west, and everything to the left is considered in the east. And you can see how the sky advances if I speed things up here. So you can see everything going across the sky here. I'm going to go back to current time. And yeah, see, you learned something tonight, Yvette. That's why people in this little hobby shoot with monochrome cameras. So I'm going to look and see. I'm not exactly sure how accurate my my setup is here, but I'm going to see if I can get to the Orion Nebula right now. It may still be hidden, but we will I'll click on it, and you can see, where is the mount? The mount is moving because it has to do a flip. So you can see the telescope is spinning around now, and it's going to go back around to the other side. And in a moment here, it will hopefully be pointing at Orion and not the edge of my roof. So when it finishes its move, I will go back to the app. You can see Orion is very, very low. It's just coming up over the roof of my neighbor's home here. So now it's saying that it should be pointing at Orion. So let's go to this program here. Oh, look at that. So these streaks were because the camera is taking a 15-second exposure, and these streaks were from the stars as it was moving into its position. So this next 15-second exposure. So this is how you can tell how close it is to my house. So you notice that the top left-hand side of the image here is kind of grayed out, almost like a cloud. It's not. That's actually the edge of my roof line. So each 15-second exposure you can see because Orion is moving in this direction. Here it is clearing. So it was actually absolutely perfect time to move over to Orion. And in a few minutes we will see a clearer view. I'm going to bump the telescope here and move it just a little bit. Hopefully I hit the right button here. We'll be able to tell in this next exposure coming in if I went down with it like I wanted to. Nope, I went up. So I'm going to hit the right hand button twice, and that should bring this mass down to about right here in this next exposure. And if you remember earlier, I was talking about how you can't take a picture of Orion without satellites. So those aren't clouds, Jorge. That's the edge of my roof in the foreground, out of focus. So it's clearing. You can tell because each exposure that comes in, this is slowly moving up in this direction here. So just in a couple seconds here, we should be able to have a clear image. So you notice all the stars are pretty decent. They're, round. But look at this little line down here, and then look up here, there's a one there, and there's one there. Those are all the geostationary satellites that I was talking about. So it is a tough target to shoot. I'm going to bump the telescope. Hopefully I bumped it to the left, because I want to move over a little bit with this target. We'll see. Nope, I went the wrong way. Alright, so this next exposure should get me in the right framing that I want. Oh, we've got to wait. Did I go the wrong way again? Let me just shorten my exposure. crank the gain up, and now I can move it and see it almost in real time. So let's see. Oh, that's not the way I want to go. I want to go this way. Okay, I'm happy with that framing there. So now I will go back to 15-second exposures, and I will reset my gain back to the default to keep it as noise-free as possible. I'm going to go to my guider, and I'm going to have it select some stars and start guiding here so we can do a long exposure on the Orion Nebula. Okay, let's see what we got here. See, we've got another satellite passing through here. I am going to start the live stacking feature, and let's see. So you can see we've got little satellites streaking through here, and I'm using the default stacking feature. So we will get a continuous streak of these stars here as every 15-second exposure rolls in. You can see the line size just doubled. And here in this one photograph, we have actually 3 geostationary satellites that are passing through our frame. I'm going to put the cursor right there. You can see the line just extended when the next image built. So this is what Jorge was mentioning in the comments earlier. This is using the default stacking method. And what it does is it just stacks everything that it sees one image after another. The Sigma clipping stacking feature, what it does is it looks for stuff that's the same from frame to frame. So I'm going to turn Sigma clipping on, which resets everything, of course, and we'll wait for this next picture to come. And what it does is it sort of auto-magically deletes the satellites from the images. They start out faint, and as more and more images stack, it sort of deletes them automatically here. Okay, so you can see this is the first image. You can still see the satellites, so we're going to wait for the second 15-second exposure to come in. And what it will do is it will see that this satellite has moved from here up to here, and you can still see it there because it's only got 2 images to compare right now. But eventually these satellites will start getting automatically eliminated in the stacking software. So it's a pretty cool feature of the program. I'm surprised it's not happening yet because I thought it worked a little faster than it seems to be working. But I know last night it was working great. Let me go into the stacking feature here and make sure. Yeah, Sigma clipping is on. I don't know if this initial frame count number here has anything to do with it. Maybe it has to have 5 images before it starts doing the clipping. So we'll see. It shouldn't take too much longer before we start seeing some sort of results there. But this is the Orion Nebula. So most people are familiar with the Orion constellation. If you were to go outside and look at Orion, sort of almost it's in the south position right now, and he's standing up. So you'll see his belt. Everybody's familiar with the 3 stars that are equal brightness that make up the belt. And this is between his belt and his feet. You'll see a little fuzzy patch of sky there. Some people say it's his sword that's hanging from the belt. And that is actually what you're looking at right here. This is the Orion Nebula. Imagine this image rotated 90 degrees clockwise, and that's sort of the actual position of it in the sky. Yeah, you got that right, Jorge. Technical inconsistencies are normal in this hobby, but you'll also notice though that as more and more stacks come in, those satellites are getting fainter and fainter. Obviously a new one in the first 15-second exposure will be very prominent, but as more and more images stack on top of it, it does seem to be eliminating most of the satellites from the image. I've never bothered with Sigma clipping because I just, when we're doing live virtual parties and stuff, I usually just let the satellites trail. Does anybody have any questions? Mitch? Fred? I don't know if Fred's still there or if he just popped in for a few minutes. I haven't seen him make any comments in a while. Thanks for checking in, though. Appreciate it. Yvette, do you have a object or anything that you would like for me to point at? I don't know if you were here at the very beginning and saw my limited sky view, but if it's up and it's visible, I'd be happy to shoot it for you. I got nothing better to do tonight. I'm just playing around here, so. Yeah, I know, Jorge. This from the desert, shooting this under dark skies is just an incredible object. Yeah, the histogram kind of like is. Let me kind of push this up, and you can really start to see a little more of the. Well, you can see the satellites coming through now too. Well, the only problem, Mitch, with capturing color is I would have to take pictures in the three different filters, and then I would have to open up a different program and stack those three pictures in order to make it. Yeah, it does take a long time, but I'm probably going to be online all night, or for as long as YouTube will put up with me. So. Lagoon is not up. No, the Lagoon is not up. Lagoon's in Sagittarius, man. That's a summer constellation. You know that, Jorge. Let's see. We're coming up on 4.5 minutes of 4.5 minutes on the Orion Nebula here. Now, if you could flip this in your brain, if you could flip this image 180 degrees so that it's more or less upside down from where you're at. This is the famous Orion Nebula here, M42. Inside the middle here, that's already blown out because the exposure is so bright, there is 6 stars, 4 that are easily visible in a telescope. A 5th one that's visible in larger medium-sized telescopes when the seeing conditions are very, very good, and a 6th star that if you can see the 6th star in the trapezium, then you have absolutely fantastic optics and fantastic seeing conditions. Let's see, where is the moon? You know what? I'll be glad to go. I've been taking photos myself of the Orion Nebula, but on a mirrorless camera. Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, before I got distracted there, Jorge, I was going to say, if you flip this over 180 degrees, this little dark nebula over here, if you see where my cursor's at, imagine that 2 legs. Again, it's upside down right now. And then this is the body with the head down here. And then this is one of his arms. This little shape right here is called the running man. So it is a pretty cool little shape. I'll zoom in a little bit more on it here so you can maybe get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So here you go, legs, crotch right here. Here's the other leg. This is his arm, and then his head is down in this direction here. So if you look at it upside down, turn your head upside down and take a peek at that, you will see a little stick figure of a man running. And that's the Running Man Nebula, which is part of the same group. Hard to get a picture in this area without showing the Running Man, unless you have a long focal length telescope that just doesn't allow it to be in the field of view. So you've been taking photos yourself of the Orion Nebula with a mirrorless camera. What kind of lens are you using, Yvette? I don't know how far behind the delay is on the live stream here. So we'll wait and see if she answers here. Before we move on to another target. You know what, Mitch? It actually does, but here's the problem with the rotation. And what I'll do is when I'm done with this stack here, what I'm going to do is, we're at 7.5 minutes right now. I'm going to stop on the Orion Nebula at 10 minutes. So when it gets to 10 minutes, I will restart it, and I will flip it 180 degrees so that everything is the other way, as we would say. But I'll explain now, while we wait, why I can't do that. So I mentioned earlier that the camera, the processing software, if you look over here on the right-hand column, I've got telling it to subtract a dark frame and to apply a flat frame. So the dark frame is it's called a master dark frame, and what it does is you take pictures for however long your regular exposures are, which in this case is 15 seconds, and you take multiple 15-second exposures with the camera telescope capped, so all it records is black. And when you have 15 or 20 of those black frames, you in a program, a stacking program, very similar to what is happening here with the live stacking, you stack those black frames together, and what it does is it creates a noise pattern. No, that's 75 to 30 is a great lens. No reason to be embarrassed there. Boy, that's got to be tough to shoot, though, unless you're on some sort of tracking device, though. Even at 75 millimeters, that's a pretty long focal length. So I don't know if you have a tracking device that you're tracking your exposures with. But okay, so getting back to the dark frames, the master dark, what it does is it creates a dark frame, which every camera, no matter how good it is, how bad it is, if you take a long exposure with the lens capped, there's a pattern of noise in that image. It doesn't matter what the ISO is or the gain structure. And what the dark frame does, or the pre-processing that you see here in the right-hand column, is it takes that noise that's standard, that's always there in the picture, and it subtracts it from the picture. So it sort of automatically cleans it. It's almost like noise reduction would be a good way of describing it. So it's a little bit of noise reduction that it applies to the image as you're processing it. Now the flat frame does exactly the opposite. You shoot a opaque, bright object, and what it does is it shows up all of the imperfections, not in the sensor itself, not in the electronics portion of the sensor, but if there's dust on the sensor, or if there is dust on the filters, or if there's dust on the optics of the telescope itself. What I can do is let me minimize this and get over to my desktop, and I will show you what a flat frame looks like. So here is the flat frame for let me open this up so that you can see it a little better. Whoa, it did something wrong there. That is not the correct. Why is my flats not looking right here? Let's check this one out and see what it looks like. Ah, here we go. Okay, so this is a different filter, but same effect. Okay. Loading, loading, loading. All right. So this is a flat frame for my hydrogen alpha filter. And you can see a little spot right here, a little speck, a little dark spot right there. So that's dust that's more than likely on my sensor, because it's very small, very sharply defined. So that's a piece of dust that's on the sensor. Some of these bigger ones, I don't know if you can make out in the live stream. There's like a bigger kind of a round circle right here. So that's dust that's probably on the optics. Could be on the filter, but more than likely on the lens of the telescope itself. And then also you'll notice in all four of the corners, there's a really bad dust spot on the sensor right here. But in all four of the corners, you see the darkening edge there, and that's called vignetting. And that's because of the optical path. There's a little bit of shadowing on the edge of the frame. And let's go back to the program here and close all of this stuff. Let's see, we'll get back to, in the pre-processing here, the camera is set up at one position, and so my flats and my darks are set up for the exact same position. So if I flip this 180 degrees, then my flats would be reversed and the processing would be messed up. But here's what I'm going to do. I am going to show you how the software flips. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'm going to save that right there. Okay, so here is my final image. I could very easily flip this right here, but I'll show you how it's actually, you know what, let's go ahead and do that. So I think, if I remember correctly, let me go back around here. If you're standing outside right now and Orion is due south, this is pretty much the orientation of the Orion Nebula right here, and you can see the running man down here. But if I rotate this one time and zoom in, oh, what's going on? Saving my changes. I don't know why it's taking that long to save the change. All I did was rotate the picture. More technical issues. All right, we're back to our live image here. I am going to turn off LiveStacking, and I'm going to flip right here. Crank up the gain so I can do some short exposures. Let's see if yeah, so that's flipped now. So that's flipped vertically, and I can flip horizontally. That puts it back the other direction. I think this gives us a better view of the running man, if I remember correctly. Yeah. All right, so 139 on the gain and 15 seconds on the exposure. Yes, now you understand the theory of flat frames. So the flat frames, what it does is it subtracts that dust and that vignetting from the final image. So it's a pretty cool feature. Let's see, we've got 5 seconds to go, and we have an image coming in here. Oh, adjust the histogram. Well, let's see. Did I go back to where it was? Because the running man's upside down again. Maybe I was supposed to just go vertical on the flip. Yeah, I think this is going to fix it. Let's let this next 15-second exposure come in here. And we'll have to adjust our histogram. There we go. Now the running man is standing up. He's on the opposite side, but he's standing up now. So if I do a live stack now, reset all of this, clear. So my now that I've rotated, you can see I've flipped it vertically. So now you can see the dust on my sensor is showing up because it's subtracting the dust from the wrong position in the image here. You know what? While this builds up a couple of frames here, Mitch, I am gonna step outside and see if the moon is still above my my hedge line, and I'll be right back. Yes, we're in luck. The moon's going to probably be up for another, or at least above my bushes for another 30 minutes or so. So let's see. So you can see, because I flipped everything, the vignetting is still in the corners, and I've got dust on my sensor here and here because my flat is not properly oriented to the sensor any longer. So before we go to the moon, I'm going to switch back to none on the flip, turn off live stacking. I'm going to shorten my exposure because we're going to the moon now. I got to get down into milliseconds here for my moon exposure. Let's go over to our app. See, my app shows the moon is below the bushes there, so I can't actually find it, but I can search for it. There we go. Alright, so the telescope is headed to the moon now, and we can watch it do its little flip. It's got to come around. So the moon is over in this direction here, if you can see my cursor. So it's got to flip around, do what's called a meridian flip. So remember that imaginary red line that I mentioned earlier. So anytime the telescope makes a major move like this, where it goes from the east side to the west side, or in this case, it went from east, now it's pointing west, it does what's called a meridian flip. The only time I have to worry about keeping a real good close eye on the telescope, because sometimes these cables will get tangled up in things, but we should be seeing the moon. Hey, look at that. Boy, talk about pointing accuracy there. How about that? Okay, let's see. Let's do this. I am going to change my field of view on the sensor. Okay. Do you cringe when you cut to that shot, cables and all? Well, you know, I mean, I know some astrophotographers that have like 4 USB cables and 3 power cables and everything else dropping off of there. So the only reason I have 2 cables, one of them is power, and my computer is actually mounted on the telescope. So I have no choice. I've got to get power to the telescope somehow. So that's one of those cables. The other cable, if I'm out in the field imaging in the dark, is not there because I attach wirelessly to the mount. My broker has been watching 4 deals on trackers to prevent my banana stars. I think I get what's going on. Okay, so back to the moon here. I'm going to bump up my exposure just a little bit, and then we will start the grand tour of the moon. Let me get it centered first. Okay. See, now in this case, it's exactly pointed the opposite of the way it appears if you went outside right now. So if I flip this, what, horizontally? Nope, it's got to be a vertical flip. There. So that's kind of what the moon looks like if you go outside right now. And I can push in on this to 100%. Let's not go to 120%. 100%. And yeah, we should document some of our trips to the dark location. That sounds like a good job for Antoine. He's the you know, the real YouTube guru when it comes to all of that stuff. So I am going to bring the exposure time down, and I'm going to bring the gain up, and I'm going to check my focus here because I do have an electronic focuser on the mount, so you can see it looks a little bit blurry. So I am going to go in 500 steps, and it looks like it got better and then much worse. So I'm going to go back out 500 steps, which will bring it right back to where it was. And I'm going to do some fine adjustments here. I'm going to go in 30 steps. A little bit more. Oh, maybe one more. All right, so we went in about 90 steps there on the focuser. That looks pretty good there as far as focus goes. And so there you have it, Mitch. Per your request, there's the moon. If I go down to about 90%, I should be able to get the whole thing in there. It won't let me go straight to 90. 75 is about the best I can do. There we go. Well, that works. That's a beautiful shot tonight of the moon. It's getting really close to my bushes, going down behind the bushes. So I'm going to open up the exposure just a little bit to bring out a little more detail. This line here between daylight and dark is called the terminator. No relation to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so if you were standing on the moon somewhere like right here where my cursor's at, it would be dark. And oh, did you catch that? Oh, amazing! We caught an airplane flying through the frame. That's extremely rare to have happen. I love it. I love it. And now I can actually hear the airplane passing over my house. So thanks, Mitch, for having me go to the moon when I did, because otherwise we wouldn't have caught that airplane, because probably pretty rare that a rare chance that would happen 2 times in a row this evening. I do have a video when I was imaging the sun, and I actually got really lucky and caught a Southwest flight passing right through in between the sun and myself, and a perfect silhouette of the sun. So, well, it is being recorded, Mitch. It will be available on playback. So if you can remember, I started my broadcast at about 6:10 with a 20-minute countdown. 6:10 to 7:10 would have been 1 hour, so it's 7:40 now. So about 90 minutes into the video, you can replay it back. I don't think it's actually available on YouTube until tomorrow or much later this evening, depending on how late I broadcast. So yeah, so 7:40 is the time, is the actual time, yeah, but I don't think you have any indication on screen of what time it is. So you'll have to go about 90 minutes into the playback of the broadcast to see the pass. Just, search forward, and yeah, I do live by the busiest airport. I don't know if McCarran's the busiest in the world, but it's definitely busy. Not lately, unfortunately, because of the virus, but yeah, I will get that frame. It's funny because I do have the option of recording, besides streaming, of actually recording to my computer as well. But I've noticed that when I do that, all of that, plus with the Team Viewer going to my computer outside, plus all the other applications running and everything, it kind of bogs down my computer a little bit, which I'm surprised considering how powerful this beast is that I have. But recording really takes a lot of toll on the processor, I suppose. So I chose not to record tonight, to only stream it. But I knew that if I wanted to go back and look at something, it would be available on the YouTube rebroadcast time. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up my fancy dancy app here. Oh, I don't have it on my phone anymore. I used to have a Lunar app that showed... do I have it on my computer? Maybe I do. Virtual Moon Atlas. Look at that. Awesome. So let's see if we can figure out what some of these craters are called here. Setup. I need to go to I need to find out how to get it to current time. Here we go. Now, look at that. We're getting there. And now I can zoom in. So this giant mare here. Mare is, I believe, Greek for a sea. And we can see that right here. So this is Mare Crisium. If I go back to the program here, Mare Crisium, Geminus and Cleomedes. Boy, I don't know how to pronounce some of these words, but that would be, let's see, well, these two craters here. So everything is flipped. I think I need to flip it both vertically and horizontally. No? Oh, flip none. Let's go to flip both. There we go. Okay, so now the orientation is correct with the app here. Although I don't think I can rotate this. Can I rotate? I hardly ever use this program, so I don't know. Doesn't let me rotate. Configuration, maybe? Anyway, so we'll move around here. See, I don't really see any famous craters like Tycho or Plato or Aristosthenes. Yeah, see, they're not visible right now. They're in the dark. They're on the dark side of the moon. Anyway, that's a cool little program. We'll go back to our live shot of the moon here. My exposure is a little hot. Turn that exposure down. Anybody have any questions about the moon before we move on to something else? I'm going to go back to a different flip view here vertically. I think that's more natural about the way it looks whenever you go step outside right now. Let's see. Okay, so, well, I can't open up. I was going to just let you guys sit here and stare at the moon, but I can't really do that without, or open the planetarium program without blocking your view. Sorry about that, folks. Let's see. This is that meridian line. Oh, yeah, I know what we can go to. Were you able to get it? Oh, you did get it. Oh, I didn't realize you could back up on a live feed like that. I guess you can. I didn't even think about that. My buddy Mitch got me the capture. Caught the frame with the airplane passing through. Was it my imagination, or was there a light visible on one of the wingtips or something? I don't remember. So I think now would be a cool time to go to the Horsehead Nebula. The Horsehead Nebula, of course, is going to be let's see, right here. Okay, Mitch is telling me there was a light on it. I'll just open it up on my phone here because I don't want to open up my browser for everybody to see. Look at that. Wow, that is fantastic. Thanks, Mitch. You can see the lights on the wingtips. Very cool. Very cool. Was it? I'm guessing it was probably just in one of my frames. As fast as it moves. All right, so I am going to go to the Horsehead Nebula now. So the Horsehead Nebula, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what it looks like with the luminance filter, which is the clear filter, and I would be very, very surprised if we can even see the Horsehead in a 15-second exposure, but we'll start out that way. My neighbor just turned his lights on in his backyard. You can see everything being lit up. That's me. I've got the little remote control for the camera, so I can point the camera down. All right, we should be just about there now. No snags on the cable. That's good. Here we go, zooming in. And now let's go back to I've got to boost my exposure up. Let's just do 2 seconds to see if we can get... All right, so that bright star right there, the name of that bright star is Alnitak, which anybody that knows me, knows my email address, knows that's part of it. So yeah, I will definitely be spending some time, Mitch, to try to get each one of the frames that it's visible captured. Let's see. So again, this is Alnitak. The Horsehead Nebula should be right in here, and it's not even showing up in a 2-second exposure. Let me make sure that I've got flip turned to nothing here, and I'm going to open up the dark for 15 seconds. I got to change my sensor size back to normal to show the entire frame. All these little things that you have to remember to do. Look here, satellite passing through here, and this is 2-second exposure, so you can see how slow that satellite's moving every 2 seconds up in the upper right-hand corner of the image. That's the Flame Nebula right there, so the Horsehead should be down in this direction. My framing may not be absolutely perfect, but if I crank up the gain, we'll start to see the Horsehead. Well, I thought we would. Again, not with a luminance filter. This is an object that really needs a hydrogen alpha filter. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the hydrogen alpha filter. And I'm going to change the flat to the flat for the hydrogen alpha filter. And I'm going to change the dark to, we'll start with 15 seconds. Okay. And we'll do a 15-second exposure here, and we should easily see the Horsehead pop in here. I believe that's it right here, just very faintly in that 2-second exposure. But this 15-second exposure coming in here should give me an idea of good framing position. Oh, my gain is cranked way up high, so this is going to be a really noisy image. There we go. There's the Horsehead. Upside down. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Flip it in your head. So let's see. I am going to lower my exposure, crank up the gain so that now that I know where it's at, I can see almost in real time. No, I want to go this way and this way. Okay, let's turn our guider on. We'll start guiding there, and we will start doing reset my gain, and we'll start with a 15-second exposure. And I'm going to reset my histogram, and I'm going to turn LiveStacking on, and I'm going to clear that, and we'll see the Horsehead pop in here. All right, Horsehead, I'm probably going to stick around for a good while. Now I need to reframe that. I want it to be further down, and I don't remember which button was down. Let's see. Let's turn LiveStacking off. Crank up the gain again. Shorten the exposure. And I want it to go down. Okay, that's the right way. Okay. Guide. Reset guiding. Okay. Now, reset gain again. It's a process, folks, especially when you're trying to do live stuff like this. 15 seconds. Clear. We've got about 10 seconds left until our first image of our 15-second exposure comes in. All right. So this is 15 seconds, and you can just barely make out the horse's head here. And the reason is because I'm shooting through a narrowband filter, which lets in a very, very minute amount of light. So in order to really see the Horsehead Nebula, we've got to crank up the exposure, which I know in a live stream like this is going to get boring real fast. But when I say crank up the exposure, I mean like 3 minutes. So I'm going to go to 180 seconds on the exposure time, and I'm going to find my dark for 180 seconds. Right there. And now we wait. So there's a clock counting down in the bottom right hand corner. I don't know if it's visible on the stream, but I'm keeping an eye on it. We're at about 2 minutes and 35 seconds now. But we'll definitely start to see very distinct details, not only in the horse's head, but also in the flame nebula right here. So. You know, while we've got exactly 2 minutes, I am going to run in the other room and show my wife the photograph of that Mitch just sent me of the airplane passing in front of the moon, and then I'm going to get a refill on my water. So now would be a good time to take a break. Be back in under a minute and 40 seconds to see the next image pop into view. Okay, I am back. Let's see. We're about 40 seconds away from our first exposure on the Horsehead Nebula. Well, I say the first exposure. It'll be the first long exposure that will bring in a lot of the detail. You could get some of that detail with stacking 15-second exposures, but nothing like what's getting ready to come into the field of view or into the frame here in about 15 seconds. Let's see. Seeing if I missed any questions in the comment section. Here we go. What happened? Huh. What in the world happened? Why? It did not stack the last frame? Huh. I wonder what's going on here. So I know last night when we were doing the live stream for the Las Vegas Astronomical Society, Mike Jerry was also using this same program, and he was having problems with it occasionally not stacking his images. So I don't know what's going on. I reset default stacking back to default. Let's see. Let's check guiding, make sure the telescope is not moving all over the place. Guiding seems to be going okay. That's the only bad thing about doing really long exposures like this, is when something like this happens, then you've got to wait that whole amount of time again for the next single exposure to come in. But the good thing is that this is going to be a 3-minute exposure, and it will be the first image, so it will definitely show us this first image. I can't quite see clouds, so I don't know if it's cloud cover or not, but I don't think so, though. This little baby cam webcam here is not quite powerful enough, I don't believe, to show the stars or anything like that in it. All right, we're 50 seconds away from our first 3-minute exposure on the Horsehead Nebula. Somebody talk to me in the comments. I'm bored. If I'm bored, I know you guys have to be bored. Ask me a question. Play Stump the Amateur Astronomer tonight. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I can, I'll throw this up. Hey, how about that? Look at that fancy little reminder to subscribe to my channel. Might as well hit the button now. Hit the like button. All right. Let's see. I don't know if I have to hit that again to turn it off. Yep, I guess I did. All right. Oh, there we go. Bingo. There's our first picture of the Horsehead. All right. That's not bad for 3 minutes, a single 3-minute exposure. Okay, so now comes the wait. This is where I'm going to find out who the hardcore junkies are that are following me out there, if you're willing to stick around through multiple 3-minute exposures of the exact same subject, only to see a very minor difference in between each exposure. Yvette, where in the world are you? What city, state, country, whatever? Just curious what your skies are like where you're at. You mentioned that you photograph the Orion Nebula, so obviously you're, well, you could be in the southern hemisphere. If you were in the southern hemisphere, Orion would be upside down for you. Let's Whoa, okay. All right, I just hit the F11 button to make this full screen. I thought it would give us a little bit more real estate so I could zoom in a little more. There we go. I can move this off. Now we can really start to see a little more detail. There's the horse's head there. I'll zoom in on the horse's head. All right. So there is the horse's head, upside down, of course. Oh, you live here in Vegas too. Okay, all right. But from Hawaii. Oh, man. That's going from humidity to dryness. That had to be quite the shift for you to make that transition. All right, we're 12 seconds away from the next exposure coming in. So if you watch the horse head here closely, you should see a little bit of change, maybe a little bit of more definition between the horse's head and the background, and also a little bit less noise once it applies it. There it goes. Definitely cleaned up the noise. Didn't notice a whole lot of difference in the exposure, but most definitely cleaned up the noise a little bit. I can adjust it, the histogram here. So that's near Nellis. Okay, I know the area very well. So how many would it take to get, how many would you need to get an acceptable image? Are you talking about just for what we're doing here tonight? The more pictures you take, the less noise, because each one of the pictures basically helps to subtract a little bit of that noise. So obviously, you know, the more you can take, the better. What I considered an acceptable image. What I consider an acceptable image, I would like to do. Of course, I'm not going to tonight because I know everybody will drop off and disappear. But if I were imaging this, like say as a keeper, to print or to hang on the wall or whatever, minimum of 90 minutes in hydrogen alpha. And then you've got other filters too. You need to take pictures in red, green, and blue filters in order to get the color. If you remember that time that you and I went out to, talking to Mitch, to Coyote Springs, I think I took an hour of red, an hour of green, and an hour of blue. That was my goal that night anyway. I don't know if we succeeded in catching that many, but I think that was before I got my new battery, and my old battery was going dead on me. So I ran out of battery before I ran out of time. So yeah, but like for something like the horse head, each one of the pictures that comes in, I'm zoomed in at 100% right now. So I don't know on the YouTube stream, because of all the compression and everything, how much you can see the noise. It's a lot easier to see the noise actually in the horse's head, in the black. And each time a picture comes in, the noise gets a little bit cleaner, and a little bit more contrast between the horse's head and the light color of the background here. So we've got 40 seconds coming in until exposure number 3 comes in. Yeah, there's guys that are dedicated that will literally take tens of hours of each filter. So, and we're talking like 10 or 15 or 20 hours of hydrogen alpha, and then they'll do 10 or 15 hours of red, and 10 or 15 hours of green, 10 or 15 hours of blue, and the other narrowband filters. And so you can have a final image that easily has over 100 hours of exposure time. I have never done anything that deep. Let's see. We've got a new exposure just came in. A little bit cleaner. It's really kind of hard to tell for just 3 exposures. You start really noticing it cleaning up after 10, 15 exposures. but it's always exciting to see a new one pop in. You can see on the histogram down here at the bottom, every time a new picture shows up, the histogram adjusts its shape, and that's just because there's just a little more information, a little more detail that's coming into the field of view. Let's see. I'm just going through a WhatsApp chat that I've got going with some guys here too to see what they're talking about. Again, this gets really boring. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time. I'm not going to spend as much time on the Horsehead here that I would like to spend, because I would probably just spend the rest of the night imaging this object. So if there's anything else that that anybody wants to look at, the moon I think is down behind the bushes already. We've got a minute and a half before the next image pops into my view here. So let's see. Let me, what am I seeing here? There we go. I needed to get my my bar back here. Let's see what else is available out here. So we're shooting. This is the Horsehead. This was the Orion Nebula that we were shooting earlier. You know what? The Rosette Nebula is just coming up here. Yeah, I've never imaged this target. I can go and I can see it's a really, really huge target. And to give you an idea of the field of view, if I turn this on, let's see, sensor is the 1600, the telescope, and the reducer is on. Yeah, so this red box kind of shows my framing that we're looking at right now. If you look at the entire picture frame, I don't know that it's 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. So now if we go over to the Rosette Nebula and look at that same box, I mean, it is literally, you know, top to bottom on the height of the frame, filling it up. So I think I may go check out the Rosette Nebula next. I'm going to do maybe, let's see where we're at on this. We're at 12 minutes and we're doing 3-minute exposures. So that's gonna, we're at 12 minutes now? Yeah, we're at 12 minutes now. I'm gonna go maybe about, I want to go more than 15. You guys got to cut me some slack here. I'm gonna go more than 15. 15, 18, 21. Let's go 21 minutes on the Horsehead Nebula. I'll save it once we get to 21 minutes, and then we'll go to the Rosette Nebula. That should make sure that it's actually clearing the edge of my roof as well. Give it a couple more minutes to get over this way, and we'll take a look at it. Let's see, what else is up here in the sky? I really need to reduce my, I'll show you what I need to do is I need to reduce the amount of information that's being shown. I think I can bring, oh, there we go. So now only the brighter objects will show up in the sky here. It was getting a little out of control there. Although it eliminated the Rosette Nebula, unless that's it here. Yeah. Nope, that's not the Rosette. What happened to my Rosette Nebula? Oh, there she is down here. Yeah, we're definitely going to take a peek at that tonight. Let me get to the 21-minute mark here on the Horsehead, and then we will go over to the Rosette Nebula. I'm almost thinking that this, no, we're good. We've got 1 minute to go before the next exposure comes in. This is just such a beautiful region of the sky. I should have went with 5-minute exposures on this. 5-minute exposures would bring, there's so much detail in, let me zoom in on it here. This part of the sky here, you can see these wispy little tendrils of clouds that are going off in this direction here. I'm going to back it off just a little bit here. So yeah, you can see all of this little fine details here, and then they're almost like rays of light coming out through this stuff here that show up, and then you've got these fluffy little clouds here that longer exposures show even more detail in that stuff. So it's such a beautiful object though. Never get tired of looking at this stuff, even when you look at it all the time. There we go, 15 minutes, just the next 3-minute exposure just popped in. Let's see. Okay. I have a new subscriber on my YouTube channel. Woohoo! Lorenzo, thanks, buddy. If you're still watching, join in on the chat if you're there. All right, let's see. I need background music. That's what I need. You know what? You know what? Let's see. Okay. I'm going to scare you guys with my ugly face here for a second while I get something else loaded up. I don't know if this is going to come through in the background or not. Huh. Well, we'll see. All right, we're back to not my ugliness. And then I'm going to go over to I'm trying to get us some music going, folks. I've never done that before in OBS. Oh, I think it's working. Are you hearing music now? Somebody tell me if they're hearing it. That's me snapping. Oh, great, Lorenzo. Hey, teaching the scouts astronomy. That's cool. You know, in the past we've done that up at the Mount Potosi Boy Scout area up there, because we have an observatory up there. We do that in the summertime. Yes on the music. Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When and where? Yvette's asking when and where. Are you asking Lorenzo when and where for the... Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you like the music. I will keep the music going then. It's got to be better than listening to me. I could mute my mic and you guys could just watch. All right, we're at 18 minutes on exposure time. And so what that means is that when the next exposure comes in, we will be going on to a new target. So Mitch, curious, how do you determine how long to do a exposure for? Just knowing it's super dark and needing longer or shorter, is there a formula? Yes, I don't know how to explain it though, but like when you're in the valley here and it's all the light pollution, we're very limited with the regular filters, the red, green, and blue filters. We're very limited to the amount of time that we can do an exposure for because of the light pollution. It overpowers and almost like fogs up the film. With the broadband filters, there's a lot less interference. With the hydrogen alpha that we're imaging with now, there's virtually no interference with the light pollution, which is why it's great. And I can do and have done 10-minute exposures from the backyard here, just as a test to see that I could do it from a dark location. You know, as great as this Horsehead Nebula looks here with 3-minute exposures, if you're in a dark location and you can do a 10-minute exposure on this, the details that you see that come in through these clouds and these little wispy tendrils right here and up in here along this edge, and also detail in this nebula here, which is called the Flame Nebula. It's just the longer the exposure, the more you get. You do have an issue with a subject like this, though, because this bright star attack will overexpose. It'll blow out if you go too crazy. So I don't know that I could do 10 minutes on this target, but I could easily, from a dark location, do 5 to 7 minutes without this star getting too bad. Thank you, Yvette. I know that's not true. I appreciate the comment, though. So let's see, where are we at here? We're 37 seconds away from being finished with the Horsehead Nebula. So once it comes through, I will pause it, save it, and we will move on to the Rosette Nebula. Again, this is a Rosette I've never even pointed my telescope at, so I will be just as excited and shocked to see what comes through as my listening audience here. So I hope, Mitch, I hope that answered your question about exposures. The fainter nebulas, obviously, you want to go longer exposures. All right, so we're at 21 minutes now. So I am going to tweak this exposure just a little bit here. Kind of mess around with the histogram, get it to where I like it. Because I'm not saving the raw file. Since I'm just playing around here tonight, I'm only saving what we see here on the screen. So I will click Save Exactly as Seen. And now there it is. And I'll flip it around for us. Boom. There's the Horsehead. That's a pretty decent that's a pretty decent picture. I got to figure out why I'm getting a black bar up at the top of the screen here. That has something to do with the settings in Open Broadcast, the streaming software that I'm using. It's cropping my computer monitor a little bit there because my computer monitor is showing it full screen. So I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, there you go, folks. That's 21 minutes on the Horsehead Nebula with a 7 nanometer hydrogen alpha filter. Horsehead, of course, being right next to the belt of Orion in the Orion constellation. This is actually, if you went outside right now and looked at the belt of Orion, this is the star on the left side, the far left side of the 3 stars. So that's what we're looking at here, and this just comes down right below it. The belt actually goes off in this direction here, so you got one attack here, and then I'm drawing a total total blank on the other 2 star names, but I know one of them, I believe, starts with an M, and one of them starts with an A, another A. Anyway, okay, so there we go with the Horsehead Nebula. So we're going to turn LiveStacking off. We are going to crank up the gain and go down to a 2-second exposure. Do a little histogram stretch so we can see what we're looking at here. Now I'm going to turn guiding off. I'm going to stop the little guide scope from sending corrections to the mount. And I'm going to go to here. And I'm going to tell the mount to go to from here over to here. So not a very big move. Alright, so if the tracking and everything is working really good on the mount, that should be there. You can just make it out. You can make out the dark. It's almost like a gigantic donut. So my guiding is a little, or my mount pointing accuracy is a little bit off. So I'm going to give this a little love tap. Bring this down a touch. So this is really short 2-second exposures. And I use this with the gain cranked up really, really high, so it's a really noisy image right now. But I use that so I can see the subject and I can frame up my picture the way I want to frame it up. So I'm thinking, let's go over to the left a little bit. One more click to the left, one more bump to the left. Maybe one more. Okay, so I like this composition here. I don't know on the live stream if the Rosette Nebula shape is actually coming out right here, but that's what we're going to go with. So now I do the process in reverse. I bring my gain back down to normal, which is 139 for this camera, and let's see. Gain is at 139, and I'm going to bring my exposure up to, let's just start with 3 minutes on it. So 180 seconds. So we've got a new picture starting right now. I'm going to reset this histogram and turn LiveStacking on and clear the old stuff. So now we wait. We wait for 3 minutes till the first image of the Rosette Nebula comes in. And this, everybody in the audience will be seeing this along with me for the first time. I mean, other photographers, if Jorge is still there and some other people, they may have already seen the Rosette Nebula or imaged the Rosette Nebula. I never have. Never even bothered to point my telescope at it. So this will be a first tonight. I do like this music. I do like the music. I've got to remember to add a little bit of ambiance like this to all of my live streams from now on. It's actually the music itself is. I built a countdown video that's 20 minutes long, and it has different videos that I've produced over the years of some of my solar imaging, some of my comet photographs, the Mercury transit, and I built a 20-minute countdown because I like to, when I start my live stream, because I'm so not good at this, I like to get everything going, streaming first, and actually broadcasting before I go live and start talking on camera. And that way, I can make sure everything's working right, make sure the chat is working properly. That way I can communicate with you guys. And it gives me 20 minutes to make sure everything's good and going before I go live. And this is the music that I used on that countdown. So if you ever get a note, if you do subscribe to my channel, which I highly recommend. In fact, I recommend it so much. Here, there's a reminder. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification when I go live, and if you tune in immediately, you'll more than likely see the video that is going to be playing, or that is playing right now in the background. So we've got 18 seconds coming in, or 15 seconds until our first 3-minute exposure comes in. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Here it comes. What happened? Oh, it did it again. It ignored it. Why would it ignore my first frame? Oh, something's fishy with SharpCap, this program. Well, that stinks. Now we have to wait. Now we have to wait 3 more minutes and hope that the next one comes in okay. I've never seen SharpCap ignore the very first frame. The only thing I can expect is if my guiding got really messed up. But I'm sitting here looking at my guiding. Oh, it does say star lost. What's going on here? Well, that's why it ignored it. I forgot to start guiding up. So, see, note to self: always make sure before you start live stacking that you have guiding going. So guiding is now going now. I wish that SharpCap would see there's a guiding tab down here. So it says to monitor PhD2 guiding, select enable server, blah, blah, blah. Pause stacking if guiding is lost. So that is why it did not stack. All right, note to self: always make sure that the guider is turned on. Well, we have a minute and a half, and if you did not join me before, you can... Look at that. There is 3 minutes on the Rosette Nebula. That's a beautiful nebula. I cannot believe that I've never... Yeah, it is a shame that they don't talk to each other. Mitch says 2 separate programs. Yeah, there's one program that does the guiding. I mean, you can't see my bar down at the bottom. But I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 programs open right now in order to do this, and that's not counting. That's 5 programs that's on the telescope computer, just to do the imaging. That doesn't count the program OBS that's running on my desktop here to actually broadcast to YouTube. I have OBS open on my computer. I have TeamViewer open because TeamViewer is how we're looking at the screen that you're looking at right now. This is coming actually from the computer. That's the little miniature nuke that's mounted on the telescope itself. It's a lot to it. Nina is one of the programs that I was going to demo tonight, but I decided not to. Nina's not very good for like live entertainment like this. It's great for if you're out in the desert imaging one subject all night or multiple subjects all night and you're not trying to show it off and impress people. It doesn't have the live stacking feature like this, so I would only be able to show you the individual exposures. Well, you know, this 3-minute exposure is going to look exactly the same as the next 3-minute exposure. Whereas with SharpCap, this program, this 3-minute exposure is going to have the next 3-minute exposure added to it. So it's going to be the equivalent of a 6-minute exposure. So you follow along here. That really is. I have got to go out and image this thing for real in the dark and actually make a color image from this instead of just one filter. This is a beautiful target. I think I never pointed my telescope at it because I didn't think it framed up very well. I thought it was too big for my imaging sensor. But it really looks great. So we're about 20 seconds away from another exposure coming in. Five seconds, folks. Here it comes. So the background should get a little darker. Should see a little more detail in the nebula itself. Yep, background got a little darker. Nice, very nice. Wow, what a beauty. I'll be probably posting this photograph on Instagram later tonight whenever I'm done. I may just you guys may have made a mistake going to Rosette, because now I don't want to leave this. I want to gather a couple of hours of data on this and just to see how great it would look. So we might be stuck here on Rosette all night. I need to see if there's a way for me to monitor how many viewers I have in the feed here. I think there is a way somewhere. I'm doing that on my laptop. I think I have to go to my studio settings to on YouTube to see how many people are actually watching live right now. Let's see. Live. I have 5 live viewers. So I know Mitch, I know Yvette, I'm guessing Lorenzo's maybe still there, Jorge, and I don't know who else is there. But thank you for the 5 viewers that I've got. It's cool to always be able to share this stuff with anybody. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I think I'm the 5th viewer because I'm watching it from my laptop as well as streaming it from my desktop. So I think I probably am number 5. Okay, so I have 4 actual viewers tonight, and I appreciate every one of you. So. If you got any questions, throw them down in the chat down there. Happy to answer if I can. If I can't, I'll make something up. And unless you Google it, you won't know whether I'm telling the truth or not. I do have a question. Okay, wait, 10 seconds and we've got another image coming in. So we'll have 9 minutes on this guy or girl, whatever you want to call her. Yeah, very subtle changes now in between images. So I need help because I don't stream very often, and I know Mitch, I know you have helped me very much so in the past, but from a technical standpoint, is my microphone okay? I find myself looking over, like right now I'm looking at my laptop to see if there's any questions coming in, which there's one from Lorenzo that just popped in. So I'm wondering if when I turn to look at my laptop, does my audio go bad? Is the mix between the music in the background and my microphone a good mix? Do I need to raise one, lower the other, or do something like that? So somebody give me some technical advice on the stream. Also, the stream quality, does it look good? Like looking at the screen here, can you guys easily see the text in this screen capture that I'm doing here? Like, can you read these numbers that I'm circling with the cursor right now? I just want to know if the quality is good enough that you can actually see all that stuff. Oh, that said I had 10 viewers about an hour ago. Well, great. That means I lost six viewers. Or I lost 5 viewers anyway. Lorenzo, I wish I had the time to learn SharpCap before Tuesday night. Are you streaming Tuesday by any chance? I don't have any plans to stream Tuesday, but where are you doing your class, your astronomy class with the Scouts? Is it somewhere where you have internet access that if I was streaming you could pick it up? Because besides doing this stuff by myself, one of the things I love doing the most is sharing this stuff with the public. And the whole reason I got online tonight is because we had such a great night last night with the Las Vegas Astronomical Society streaming live. And so if the weather's nice, I'd be happy to set up Tuesday night and stream for you guys, but I'll have to check the weather forecast. I don't think for a live event it's looking that great right now. But yeah, if you're somewhere, the microphone sounds good and steady and balanced. Okay, great. Thank you for that technical advice there, technical feedback. I am just blown away with this subject matter. I love it. Oh, Collins. Oh, see, stupid me. I just assumed that you were local here in Vegas. 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar. My family lives in Louisiana, so I can. So it would be 7, 6, 5. It'd be 5 o'clock here. It'd be just getting dark. I think, I don't know that it's even dark enough at 5 p.m. Maybe by 5:30 it's probably dark enough here for me to stream. I'll tell you what, Lorenzo, if you want to, I don't know how to, I don't like giving out my email address or my cell phone here directly. And I don't know in YouTube if there's a way to private message somebody. If you have a way, I'm trying to think how you can get hold of me. Yeah, it would definitely be dark by 8 o'clock your time. That would be 6 o'clock our time here. So it would be just getting dark. So 6 to 6:30. In fact, I went live tonight at 6:30, but I could have very easily backed it up a half hour. It was dark at 5:30, 5:15, 5:30ish. I just don't think our weather's going to be good Tuesday. Let's see here. Oh, we've already got 12 minutes worth of exposures coming in here. boy, I am really loving this target. This gives me a desire to get out to a dark desert site somewhere and get some serious data on this object. I'm looking around, Lorenzo. I'm looking around YouTube right now, trying to figure out if there's a way that I can send you a private message. I don't think there is on YouTube, to where I could give you my contact information. Like I said, I don't really like giving out my phone number or my email address on YouTube here. If it was just live, I wouldn't hesitate, because there's only 4 people watching, and 3 of those 4 people have my contact information. You know what I'll do? Okay, so what I will do is I'm not on Facebook, believe it or not. As much as I love doing this stuff and being sociable with people and helping them out, I can't stand Facebook. But my wife is on Facebook, so what I'll do is I will send you a private message through my wife's account. Her name is Penny. Last name is McKay, M-C-K-A-Y. So look for a message from her, and I will send you my email address and a phone number, and text me Tuesday, and just get in touch with me sometime Tuesday. And if it's clear here, I will set up and I will stream live just for you guys. Be happy to. Let's see. I don't know if I can log into my wife's Facebook account right now. I'm going to try, though, while we're live. I'm going to do that on my laptop. She does let me use her Facebook account because I sell some stuff on the Facebook marketplace every once in a while. Man, I haven't used Facebook in so long. I forgot how to new message. Okay, so it looks like you're going to have to give me a little more information than that, because there are quite a few people with the same name. So whatever you're comfortable sharing here. So this other Trail Life USA, is that on Facebook? Is that how you want me to reach you? I'm so out of place on Facebook here. Let me see what I can do here. Trail Life USA Troop. Okay. Oh, I think I found you. Okay. So I am gonna send you. I'm gonna send you my contact information through a private message on Facebook. Right now. All right, I just sent you the message. Get off of my wife's Facebook now. All right, I just sent the message, Lorenzo, so you should have it. I used to be on Facebook years ago, and I know if somebody sent me a message back then, if somebody sent you a message that wasn't in your friends list, it would go to like a separate tab or something. So you may have to search around for it, and it might be different with a group. But if you can take a peek now and look and see if you got that message from me, that'd be awesome. Great. All right. Yeah, that I know. Look at this, 18 minutes of time, and just absolutely spectacular. In fact, I'm gonna take a shot of my screen with my cell phone, which I know is a very poor representation, but I want to send it. I want to send that off to a couple of guys right now that are not watching. Let's see what they say. It's 18 minutes. 18 minutes worth of 18 minutes of 3-minute HA subs. All right, we'll see what they say. Of course, these guys on my little WhatsApp astrophotography chat are showing pictures that look like they were shot by the Hubble right now, so they're going to probably laugh at me when they see my screenshot. Ooh, I almost hit the clear button there. I don't want to do that. I need to start paying attention to the screen here, what's going on. I'm just fooling around with a histogram here, trying to brighten it up even more. Man, I have always considered probably the Horsehead Nebula to be my favorite nebula in the sky, at least in the winter sky. I think I have a new one now, though. I mean, this is just spectacular. I love this object. I guess maybe because it's the first time I've ever imaged it. Some of the other ones I've imaged so many times that you get a little jaded after watching them over, or doing it over and over and over again. But that's pretty neat. And we've only got 18 minutes worth of images. 18 minutes. I'm almost tempted to bump this up to 5-minute exposures, which I think I'm getting ready to do. All right, so let's see. All right, so I've got to go in and I changed it to 300 seconds. So now I've got to change my dark frame to 300 seconds. So this next exposure coming in should give us 26 minutes of data time. I'm just curious to see if it'll bring out any more fainter detail, either along the edges or in this dark core here in the middle. So while we're waiting 4 minutes now for this next exposure to come in, I am going to switch back to this camera. to the desktop here. "90 seconds away from our first 5-minute exposure added to our image here. Let's see. "60 seconds, guys." I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference between 3-minute exposures and a 5-minute exposure being added to it or not, but we shall see. We shall learn together. While I'm sitting here waiting, I'm going to grab my phone and pull up my weather app and see what the Tuesday weather is looking like. I never trust it even 2 days out as far as that goes, but yeah, right now my app is showing 80 to 90% cloud coverage on Tuesday evening from between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. So it's not looking very promising, Lorenzo, but I'll tell you what, though, I'll keep an eye on it. If the weather changes, I will be there live for you. Oh, we just had a 5-minute exposure pop in. I was looking at my phone. So let's stretch this data and see. I wish I had been paying attention. Trying to multitask here. All right, while we wait for the next 5-minute exposure. Okay, so we're back live. We've got about 25 seconds left to go before we get an additional 5-minute exposure added here. Watch the histogram here. Watch this white line here, that little jagged line that looks like a mountain. Every time an exposure adds to the stack, this histogram shifts a little bit. So coming up in about 5 seconds here. And here comes, oh, you saw it shift just a tiny little bit. So, and there's the results. So this yellow line represents all of the colors that the camera can produce. When I say color, I mean contrast, from 0, which is black on the left-hand side, to, let's just say 100, but it's actually a much higher number, white, pure white, which would be on the right-hand side. And so this represents all the color, or all of the contrast, the different colors of gray that are in the image. So you can go in with these sliders and see this will adjust the whites, or the bright part of the picture, and you have to be really careful. You don't want to, anything that's above the bottom line here, you don't want to clip it. So some of this right here is the bright stars. So remember, to the right, the further to the right, the brighter the object in the image is. So if I were to bring this line over, grab it and bring it over to, let's say, here, I would actually be cutting off some of the information in the image, some of the light or the really bright stars in the image. So for me, I always set the histogram, the white level, to right at the edge here, just where the peak ends. And for the blacks, it's really kind of hard to tell, because some of this black is actually part of the sky, and I believe some of this may be parts of the noise. I could be completely wrong about that, but you can see if I slide this all the way over here to capture all of that, the image gets completely washed out. So you want to clip some of these blacks to, and I usually, what I do is I will start bringing it in, and you'll notice as I shift it in this little section here, there's change, but there's very little change. And then when you get to this peak point right here where it really takes a sharp turn and starts going up, you'll notice every little bit that you move beyond that really makes a more drastic change to the picture here. You don't want to do this. This is called crushing the blacks. So now I've lost a lot of detail and a lot of information in the image. So you want to bring that back. And it's, I think, more a matter when you get into this zone right in here, it's more a matter of personal taste, what you want to see, what you want to share. And I like it kind of about right there. And the mid-tone is just that, is the middle tone grays in the image, so you can adjust that. What I try to do is, some people try to get this opposing yellow line here, they try to get it flat, which would put it about right here, but to me, I think that's crushing too much information out of it. So I like to kind of push it a little bit towards the blacks, somewhere right about in there. To me, visually, just looks like a good image. And we're a minute and a half away from another image coming in. So I'm at 31 minutes. I know this is probably pretty boring for the 2 or 3 or maybe 4 followers that I have. If anybody's got a request, when this next picture comes in 60 seconds, we'll go back to Stellarium, the planetarium program, and we'll look around the sky and see if there's another object that we can image. I believe there's a good possibility that M81 and M82, which are two fairly large galaxies. I say fairly large. They're actually a lot smaller than Andromeda. But they're two distinctly different shaped galaxies. One of them is a spiral galaxy that's seen sort of at a diagonal, and the other one is a starburst galaxy that just has a very odd cigar shape to it. In fact, its nickname is the Cigar Galaxy. So we will look and see if that is up and see about imaging that. Thank you, Greg. Subscribe now. I can't wait for your next live stream. Great, great, great. Thank you. All right. So I will, now we just had another image come in. So we're 36 minutes into this. And I think, aloha. I think what I'm going to do, I really want to stick around here and get a full hour on this subject. So you guys are just going to have to bear with me. I am going to, I'm gonna hang in for a full hour on the Rosette here, since this is the first time I've ever imaged this subject. So Lorenzo, I don't know if you're still there or not, but another option, since it does appear as though my weather is going to be bad on Tuesday, if you have the opportunity well, it's Sunday night now, so if you have the opportunity to set up tomorrow night and test SharpCap out, if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Feel free to text me. Hopefully it doesn't go to spam. It shouldn't. Maybe text me, and I almost always have my phone in my hand, or I have it turned up loud enough that I can hear a message coming through. So you can text me, and if I don't reply within a minute or so, you could email me, and I'll probably get that for sure. If you need any technical advice on getting SharpCap working with your equipment, is my point there. We got 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go until we have our next 5-minute exposure here. I think before my next live stream, I'm going to figure out why that black bar is cropped at the top of the screen like that. That's interesting. You know what? I may have just figured that out. Let's see. Display settings. That's probably why. How about that? Figured it out. Now you can see my toolbar at the bottom too. Alright. So I forgot the native resolution of my computer monitor is 1080 by 1200 instead of 1080, I'm sorry, 1920 by 1200 instead of 1920 by 1080, which is a normal monitor. All right, we're coming up 1 minute away to till our next exposure integration here. I don't know if Mitch is hanging in with me or not. Yvette's gone. I'm pretty sure Jorge's gone. Might just be you and I, Lorenzo. So. Let's see. Okay, we're about 10 seconds away from our next integration here, so we'll jump from 36 to 41 minutes of exposure time here. And there we go. Again, the histogram slid just a little bit. A little more information there in the darks that we probably want to bring in. I'm going to go for a full hour on the Rosette Nebula here. All right, we've got 3.5 minutes to go here before our next integration comes in. Sorry for the lull in conversation here, guys, but I'm just doing a little work here in the background, just checking some emails and looking to see what's going on. Lorenzo, I think it's just you and I, buddy, because I just checked my stats here and it shows 2 viewers, and I think I'm one of those 2 viewers. So thanks for hanging in there tonight. I appreciate it. If you got any questions, if there's anything I could answer for you in the chat regarding SharpCap, if you got any questions right now, you may not know what questions you need to ask yet until you actually hook up your gear and start testing it. But if you can think of anything, I'm here for you. Okay, have a good night, Lorenzo. I'm going to probably sign off shortly here, too. I think you were my last viewer. Thanks for hanging in as long as you did. And I'm probably going to call it a night when I reach the 50-minute or a 60-minute mark, which is, oh, wow, that's still another 19 minutes to go of imaging here. I don't think I'll make it to 60 minutes on the live stream here. But what I'll do We got 1.5 minutes until the next image comes in. That'll give us 46 minutes of integration time on the Rosette Nebula, and then I'll come back out live and I'll say goodbye, and we will sign off from the live feed. I'm going to continue to capture data on this, try to get an hour's worth of data. If you want to find my Instagram account, it is at Nevada Desert Skies. I think it's Nevada_desert_skies. So just search around for me. It'll be the guy that posts all the black and white images, astro images. I think there's only one Nevada Desert Skies. So that's how you find me on Instagram. Could always use a few more followers there. 30 seconds to go here. And speaking of followers, how about somebody hitting the like button or hitting the subscribe button, even better, and subscribing to my YouTube channel feed here. I think I'm in double digits now on viewers. I say that jokingly. Oh yeah, wow, I have 43 subscribers. Man, let's push that into triple digits. Oh, there went our next image. So we have 46 minutes of integration time now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna tweak the histogram here a little bit. Get it to my personal liking here. Maybe lighten that up just a touch. And then I will move this out and make this full screen. So that's about as big as I can make it while it's actually still live here being captured. That is a spectacular target. I love this. I love this subject. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to save this as I'm going to save it in a couple of different formats here in case this is actually data worth using. Here's what we'll do. I'll open it up. Look at that. That's just gorgeous. There's no slouch there, that's for sure. All right, guys. Gonna go ahead and close this up. I'm gonna continue collecting data here, but I am going to sign off on the live stream here. Just wanted to say thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight and watched, and hope you enjoyed it. And we're gonna say goodbye for tonight. Look on my Instagram feed. What I'm going to probably do is collect at least another 20 minutes of data on the Rosette Nebula here before I stop for the night, and that will be the image that I post to my Instagram feed if you follow me on Instagram. So thanks again for joining, and have a good night. Later.